Hey everybody. It snowed yesterday and the temperature was supposed to get down to 10. I don't think it got quite that cold. That's when I got up. It was about 18 outside and almost 20, about 27, 28 in the barn. So that wasn't too as bad as I thought it was going to be. But let's talk about what can you trust? I got out of here because those kids are just too crazy. I had to get outside the pen. You know, synthetic remedies are killing us. The miraculous design that is the human body doesn't seem to like the poison we flood it with through unnatural medications and the alterations delivered by the needle, if you know what I mean. As far as those alterations go, lay people are having to deliver informed consent to other lay people. People like Jonathan Otto, who has this wonderful series, all these series. He is quite the investigative journalist. And he's put out all these wonderful docu-series. Right now he's got the CV Secrets series that I have given you the links to, a couple of sneak peek videos for. But we're having to inform ourselves because doctors have completely abandoned their oaths, their ethics, and they've turned into instruments of the state. The CDC is hiding information rather than helping or informing anyone. You know, Dr. Joseph Mengele experimented on children. He hunted for twins especially. He was fascinated with twins, the genetics of twins. We put people like him, who did things like he did, on trial and put them to death. And we adopted the Nuremberg Code so it would never happen again. Yet, here we are with Fauci, the modern day Dr. Mengele, doing the same thing with the government's blessing and collusion. The mainstream media is bought and paid for by Big Pharma, Pfizer in particular. Their ad is at the beginning of every broadcast of ABC, NBC, CBS News. So you can't trust one stinking dang thing that they tell you about the ailment, which is now past, no matter what they say, or the alteration that they created at the same time, ostensibly to fix it. Children are not really, only 1 in a million children are really affected at all by the ailment, and yet they're highly affected by the alteration created for it, some to the point of death. A little girl in my own state died from the alteration, and others as well. But you'll never hear that on the news because they're in Pfizer's pocket. You can't trust the media, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the so-called medical bureaucrats, you can't trust our medical community, you can't trust social media platforms because they're also bought and paid for by the government. So, you know, what can you trust? What can you trust? You know, your immune system is designed to be challenged. It learns, almost like artificial intelligence. The immune system learns and it adapts. It sees a pathogen, it learns what it is, it adapts to fight it. But you can't cripple that immune system. You have to support it so that it can do the miraculous job that it does by intelligent design. You know, herb gardens are pretty. So when you plant an herb garden, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I really hate that metaphor. I hate that. It's useful and beautiful. It's easy to dry flowers and leaves and roots. and use them in tinctures and extracts and teas for immune support. Elderberry flowers, we found, draw bees like nothing else on this earth. It was amazing last year to watch those elderflower clusters covered in bees of all kinds. It was insane how many bees those things drew. And the syrup that we make, and I have a video on, by the way, if you haven't seen it, is great for immune support and the treatment of respiratory illness. Do you know what a potager garden is? It comes from the French term jardin potager. Jardin is French for garden. Potager, pot. It's a potted garden. A kitchen garden that combines vegetables, herbs, and ornamental plants like roses and other flowers. The French have done it that way since medieval times. Potager garden is absolutely gorgeous and wild. It's kind of akin to a cottage garden in style. It's not exactly the same thing, but you can have a cottage garden and a potager garden at the same time. It's wild and untamed and beautiful. It's good for the soul. I hope I'm going to be able to begin a better herb and flower garden this year in the closest garden to the house, the one I call the house garden. Now, last year I planted rows of Sharon shrubs that my late father brought me as basically sticks. He brought them in sticks wrapped in wet newspaper many years ago. And I potted them, but they outgrew their pots. He didn't even tell me what they were. I had to figure that out later. And we cut down 2 non-producing pear trees to give more sun and planting space in that garden. The front is a bed of daylilies that are about 25 years old. A lot of them my younger son, got for me when he worked at a nursery when he was in college, high school and college. And there's some gladiolus and irises that kind of produce on occasion. I bought most of those at Walmart, and they not the best in the world, but I've put some compost on there, and maybe they'll do better this year. I'll be adding poppies and zinnias and bachelor's buttons, which are also known as feverfew, very good medicinal herb. Purple coneflower, which is echinacea. Hyssop, holy basil, more chamomile, lavender, if I can get it to grow, nasturtium and hanging baskets, and various other edible and medicinal flowers and herbs to this house garden. And the intention is for this garden to feed not only the immune system, but the soul. And it's, my soul craves beauty. I love nature and this beautiful world. People try to destroy it, but it's still a beautiful world. I mean, look at these beautiful, beautiful animals here that give me entertainment and eggs and organic fertilizer. But I chose a cottage or potager style garden because it can be wild and free. It can self-seed, and it can be just what it wants to be, even leave its borders if it wants to do so. I'll link a couple of videos on this video that I like from channels that should inspire you to maybe grow your own potager or cottage gardens from channels I really, really, really love, and they really inspire me. And I wasn't sure I'd be able to do that this year because frankly, I'm still recovering from my broken leg. My husband's had some serious issues, and but that's one reason a potager or a cottage style garden is so much. It's really just made for me. It's casual, it's wild, it's, it goes outside its borders from time to time. It's not manicured, it's not perfect, it's not, you don't freak out over little things. You plant in such a way that it chokes out weeds and produces flowers. So that's what I hope to do this year, and I hope it's going to feed my immune system, and I'll make more tinctures and extracts and dry some mixes of these various herbs and flowers for some teas, for some healing teas. So I hope you'll try to do the same, because you know that we cannot trust our medical professionals anymore. I kind of choke when I use the word professional anymore, honestly. There are maybe some who still adhere to their oath to first do no harm. But unfortunately, a large number are doing a great deal of harm. But, you know, who can you trust? You can trust yourself. You can trust your immune system to do what it was designed to do if you support it and you feed it what it needs. And take care of your own health, because, my friends, that is all we're going to have in the future. I do fear that is all that we can count on in our future. So, you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend and have a great week, and we'll catch you at a future date.